Hi. I have a religious studies question. It's pretty clear that you guys have been inspired by a bit of Christianity when creating the story of Diablo. Has there been any other religions that you have been inspired of when creating the story of Diablo at all?
Well, I think there's sort of two things. There's the Diablo universe as a whole, and then there's the particular story of Diablo 3 and Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls. I mean, obviously the Diablo universe is relies heavily on Judeo-Christian symbols and icons and iconography and all of that. But I think there's definitely a heavy world religion influence throughout. There's certain themes that are pulled from lots of different religions, and I mean, for instance, the monks have a very different, sort of a non-Judeo-Christian take on the world. In terms of the particular narrative of the story, I think the universe has kind of taken on enough of a life of its own that the story that happens in that universe is really drawing upon the universe itself, right? So the things that happen in the story are based on the kind of place that the Diablo universe is. But in the creation of that universe, there's definitely, I think there's influences from all the major world religions.
Yeah, I know, like, for my part, when I'm looking at a new culture or class or character, I really think of Diablo as it's very similar to our world, right? But with some very specific differences. Demons, angels, magic. It's sort of this awesome dark fantasy realization, right? And so what I like to do a lot of times is draw inspiration from the world and stuff, our history and our beliefs, and then sort of change them or find what's really interesting about them, and then, push them a little farther and see what that would be in a darker setting.
Who are the gods that the monks pray to, and are they influenced by the angels?
That's a great question for Michael.
Yeah, so the monk has this belief system, right, that has tons and tons of gods, right? They see gods in everything. They're like, there's a god of the forest, there's a god of the river, there's a god of abstract concepts. They have just basically a god for everything. And sort of the intention, right, is that there's idea that there are these gods of order, and then there are also gods of chaos, which, if you're observant, you'll think there's probably some sort of similarity to kind of what's going on in the overall story of the universe. So that is intended. It's sort of like, I always like to think of it that the religion of the monks is that they sort of have this really small glimpse into, the greater reality, and that's sort of what their foundation, their beliefs are founded on.
I think that goes for a lot of cultures. They kind of have, going back to the religion question from earlier, I think a lot of them, either from cultural knowledge that's been passed down, or just guys meditating in the hills and actually getting visions. I think they interpret. Each culture has their own interpretation of what happened, how the world was created, and what their gods are. For instance, the witch doctor communes with spirits, but he doesn't get a clear message from them. But he is communing with actual dead spirits, and he is getting a partial story of what went on. So it's kind of just the different ways the different cultures interpret what actually happened in history.
Good evening. My question is very similarly. Are you guys writing the rest of the story based on the prophecy of the end days?
Well, I think the prophecy certainly plays a part in the story. It's kind of almost in a way the inciting incident, right? Like this is what kicked off these events, and this is what is supposed to happen according to this prophecy. But the thing is, the events of the story are influenced by the people who are living that story and who are going through it, right? And so what's particularly, forceful in all of this is the hero character, is your character, right? They are not going to sort of just let events unfold as they are supposed to. They are going to kind of change the entire paradigm, if you will.
Well, because as we noted in, sorry, Michael, I didn't mean to cut you off. As we noted in Diablo 3, the Nephilim aren't in the Books of Fate. So basically the character represents this giant monkey wrench thrown into the mix here. So who knows what kind of direction he's going to set it off, or she's going to set it off into.